think what's important is that each CPO or a platform like AMPECO should really focus on what they do best. If you want to be a CPO, you should really be a charge point operator. You shouldn't worry about developing a platform, you shouldn't worry about developing hardware. There's always players much better than you in this field, so the best way forward is to naturally partner with the best in those areas, like we do. In this case with AMPECO on the software end, and on the hardware end we have a few vendors which we do believe are one of the best in the world, and we believe this is the right way forward. So being lean and mean, as we say. The market is changing. You know, before I would say it was the range anxiety, if you remember, maybe a bit more years ago. Now it's about the charging speed. So this is changing quite a lot, but the charging speed by itself, it's only as far as the hardware is concerned. But what was overlooked quite a lot in the past at least is the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is actually quite important. And what we're trying to do in Eldrive at the moment, we build a lot of charging hubs. Some of them, we call them charging parks. We believe the charging parks are the way going forward. The ecosystem is just equally as important as the charging speed now. And the ecosystem has multiple elements. In the past, it wasn't important. It was just having a charger. I mean, that was more or less enough. Now, the game has changed. Now you need to actually have a very, very rich ecosystem to support the needed user experience. Megawatt charging, certainly. I would say maybe 5 years from now, maybe less on some markets, who knows. But I think we have bigger challenges in front of us to tackle immediately, and we should really focus on milestones that need to be achieved. In parallel, obviously, we can develop and we can do things in this area as well. I would say that, megawatt charging, yes, it's important for the heavy-duty trucks. I mean, obviously, right? But I think what's even more important today is actually battery energy storage, and that's what CPOs need to focus more. This is where the game is actually changing. It's about the storage now, and this resolves many issues, not just the margin issues, but also the grid connection ones. We like being pioneers in a field that actually you need to develop. You need to be the first one, or at least one of the first ones, to actually make the path for everybody else. I mean, this is what we actually did on a few markets already. And seeing how things change over time, it's actually very exciting. It feels like a different life, even 5 years ago, if you look at how the industry evolves today. And it's even on the software, on the hardware end, you know very well how things changed. You didn't get to choose much in the past, but now, I mean, you have all those great players you can actually partner with, and this is amazing. And now we talk about storage, we talk about megawatt charging. I mean, all those things were non-existent even a few years ago. So it's very dynamic, I would say, and it's very interesting and very, rewarding as a feeling to be one of the first ones to actually make that progress. I mean, as milestones, I mean, obviously, one obvious one will be growing the network, right? I mean, that's something that we need to do. It's still a long way to go. I don't like looking at number of charging points. Usually, a lot of players in the industry would count charging points. I like looking at installed capacity more than I like looking at charging points, and this is back to the topic that I mentioned, that now it's about the charging speed, much more than it's about the charging points, or maybe a mixture of both. But speaking about milestones, yes, you need to grow the network, but you need to focus a lot on the user experience. And this is the most important part you need to actually focus on. It doesn't matter how big you are if the network is not reliable. And in the past, what CPOs were looking at actively was the uptime. Well, we like looking at the success rates, not the uptime. The uptime can be very high. It doesn't mean, however, that the success rates of your charging sessions are very high. And that's where you need to focus as a CPO. You need to be fully reliable, and that's the only way forward. Reliability is number one. If you're not reliable, nothing else really matters. I mean, people care about the price, surely. I mean, you need to deliver a price that makes sense to everyone, including to you as a CPO. But what's even more important, that people know that they can rely on the network that you have in place. They should know that anytime they go to the charger, it actually works. If it doesn't, nothing else actually matters. And what goes behind the curtain is extremely complex. But any good service in the world is by nature extremely complex behind the curtain, but it should look extremely simple to the end user. This is how you build success.